Everything depends on our mindset. So when you get up from the bed, so the way you get out of the bed depends on the whole day. So how positive you are at the beginning in thinking. So it decides how the day should be. So the inspiring thought of today: if your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, and you are a leader. So whose birthday is today? So this is the great scientist Satish Dhawan of Indian Aerospace Engineer, and he is the boss of Abdul Kalam. He says, if you do not have a mission, no problem will occur. But if you do have a mission or task, definitely problems of varying magnitudes will crop up. But problems should not become the master of the individuals. Individuals should become the master of the problem, defeat it, and succeed. And about him, Abdul Kalam writes, actually when Abdul Kalam was involved in the space mission and in a satellite launching program, he is the boss of the project and his boss is Satish Dhawan. And so what happened is, till the end, everything went on well. But after launching, the satellite got failed. And he was scared, he was upset. And at the time, the press has come for a meet. So he doesn't know actually how to face the press. And so his boss, Satish Dhawan, he took the mic from him and he started facing the press. And he took all the failure responsibilities on himself. He didn't blame anybody. He took the responsibility. And he promised the press and the public that within 1 year, we will be successful in the mission. And again, the mission has been continued. And the next year, again, Abdul Kalam also is involved as the master of the project, and they won it. And when they won it, he was so happy. And again, when the press came, so instead of Satish Dhawan facing the press, he has given the mic to Kalam, giving all the credit to him. So he says, once in a satellite launching mission, we got failed. Professor Satish Dhawan took all the failure responsibility on himself. And just after 1 year, when we got succeeded in the mission, he gave the credit to me and the whole team. This is the leadership quality, my friend. So that's what Abdul Kalam says. He praises Satish Dhawan like it. And another person is there. I think you are familiar with him. He is an American actor and producer and rapper, Will Smith. He is a great actor, and beautiful movies are there. Credit to him. And he says, don't chase people, be yourself. Do your own thing and work hard. The right people, the ones who really belong in your life, will come to you and stay. And also he says there are 10 rules for success. Focus, improve yourself, don't chase the money, because as far as you chase the money, you will be chasing and you will never reach it. But you stop it, the money will chase you. Be comfortable with anything, laugh at everything, know that you can, provide value, live life without fear, express positive energy, and have fun. Okay? So he's a great actor. I really like him very much. Okay, summary of the last class. We have discussed about or introduced the second law. We talked about thermal energy reservoirs, heat engines, refrigerators, and heat pumps, perpetual motion machines. We have seen PPM1 and PPM2, and reversible and irreversible processes we talked about, and Carnot cycle, Carnot principles, arc color release, and the thermodynamic temperature scale, the Carnot heat engine, Carnot refrigerator, and heat pump, and we have seen some problems on second law. Okay, before going to the next class, we will one more problem. Actually, I thought in the last class because of time lag, so I had didn't do it. So we will do that problem. So it is one thing actually Kelvin has told us. Kelvin was first to point out that the burning of fuel for direct heating of house is a waste. It is much more economical to use the heat to run a heat engine, and then using the work output of the heat engine to run the heat pump to heat the house. Okay, there are three ways you do it. Either directly burn the fuel to heat the house, or you use that fuel, and using the heat, you can run a heat pump, and then you can heat the house. Or using the heat, you can run a heat engine, which in turn runs the heat pump, and then we can heat the house. Okay, there are three options. So if you directly heat it, so we will get whatever heat that is applied to heat the house. Okay, we will see how it happens, and we derive the expressions for that. So suppose we have a boiler here, and here in the boiler we burn the fuel, and we are getting a temperature of T1, suppose. And suppose this heat engine takes a Q1 heat from here and rejects Q2 heat to the room to be heated. And using this work, I am running the heat pump, and which takes heat from the outdoor atmosphere and supplies heat to the pump. Okay, for the heat pump, this is low LTR and this is HTR. For heat engine, this is HTR and this is LTR. Okay, this is Q2 and this is Q2 dash. So the total heat supplied to the room to heat it is Q2 plus Q2 dash. Okay, so I want to see if Q1 heat is supplied, direct heating gives only Q1. And if I have the combination device, then the heat supplied to the room is Q2 plus Q2 dash. So how many times we get the advantage, that we will see here. Okay, so heat engine, we know that QL by QH is TL by TH, or Q2 by Q1 is T2 by T1. And also eta is equal to W by Q1. And W is equal to, because the efficiency is also equal to TH minus TL by TH, T1 minus T2 by T1. So from here, I can get W in terms of Q1. Just the same way as we have done the numerical problem, we are doing in the same way, right? So we are trying to express W in terms of Q1. So W is equal to T1 minus T2 by T1 into Q1. And what is the heat lost from the heat engine? Q2 is equal to T2 by T1 into Q1 from this expression. So I got W and Q2, okay? And this W is supplied to the heat pump. Again, we see the COP expressions. COP is equal to Q2 dash, this is the useful heat, by the work done. This is also equal to T2 by T2 minus T3. So we can get, so from here, Q2 dash is equal to T2 by T2 minus T3 into W. And W is this expression. So if you substitute that here, Q2 dash is equal to T2 by T2 minus T3 into T1 minus T1, T2 by T1 into Q1, okay? So this is Q2 dash. So I got Q2 dash in Q1, and Q2 is in terms of Q1. So I'm trying to get everything in terms of Q1, okay? So now Q2 plus Q2 dash by Q1 is equal to, this is Q2 and this is Q2 dash. Q1 if I take common, so divide by that here, and I will get T2 by T1 here plus this multiplication figure here. So if I simplify, I get T2 into T1 minus T3 by T1 into T2 minus T3. Okay, this is the expression. So Q2 plus Q2 dash is this is called multiplication factor. This times Q1 I will get. Okay, so I will see with numericals. Suppose the boiler temperature is 200 degrees centigrade, which is 473 Kelvin, and the room temperature is 20 degrees centigrade, which is 293 Kelvin, and outside temperature, suppose 0 degrees centigrade, which is 273 Kelvin. And if I substitute T1, T2, T3 here, I can get this multiplication factor, which is 6.3. So now I get a heat of 6.3 times the Q1 that is heat supplied. If I directly heat it, I get only the heat of Q1. And if I have this combination, I will get a heat of 6.3 times the heat supplied. Okay? So many times of heat I will get. Suppose the third case, as I told, suppose the heat engine is not there. I have only heat pump is there. So only heat pump means you have to get COP. And COP is T2 by T2 minus T3. T2 by T2 minus T3. T2 is how much? 293, and T2 minus T3 is 20 degrees. Okay, 20 minus 0. So 293 by 20. 293 by 20? No, not that. T2 by TH. Okay, sorry. Yeah. T2 by T2 minus T3 only. T2 is 293 and T2 minus T3 is 20. Okay, 293 by 20 is 10 times. Oh, no. Okay, sorry. So if I have HP, only HP working between boiler and room temperature. So boiler temperature is 473 and room temperature is 293. So between these two, if I have the heat pump, so I will have 293 by the difference between these two, which is 180. Okay, so 180. 293 by 180. So that's what you will get the multiplication factor. So we will get some multiplication factor, but that is very small. But if I have a combination of these two, I am getting 6.3. Okay, is that clear? Any doubts? The advantage of using this combination instead of direct heating of the room or the house, you will have so much benefit. Is it okay? Will anybody respond? What is it? Hi, Harsha. Then in thermal power plants, why don't we heat pump to amplify the heat instead of burning fuel? Okay. Then in thermal power plants, why don't we heat pump to amplify the heat instead of burning fuel? Okay. So what is the purpose of a thermal power plant? Thermal power plant is to get work only. And another thing, what you are thinking is, if I use that work again to heat, I am getting so much of heat, but the quality of heat is less because I am getting. It's a good question actually. So here I am heating this room at room temperature T2 with a lot of heat Q2 plus Q2 dash, but this is at the temperature T2. T2 is at 293 Kelvin. Though I am having so much of heat at 293 Kelvin, it is of very low quality and it is of no use. That's what happens with the solar energy also, right? So I am getting the solar heat is so much, but the quality of heat by the time it reaches the earth will get reduced, right? That's why it is not directly can be used. It is very low quality energy. That is, I am getting the solar heat only at 30 degree Kelvin, 30 degree centigrade. So the quality of energy is very, very less. I want high quality energy. And so in the last class we have discussed, the more is the temperature, the more is the quality of the heat. Is that clear? Sai Harsha? Okay. So we will go to the objectives of today's class. So that is already we have done, more problem on second law. And Clausius theorem, Clausius inequality, a new property called entropy, law of increase of entropy, heat death of the universe, entropy of a pure substance, and entropy change for various processes with perfect gas. Okay. So before going to that, we will see one or two small things. On a PV diagram, two reversible adiabatics can never intersect. This is one of the things we want to prove, right? Adiabatics, they never intersect. Okay, this why I have to prove this is later I will use this concept in another proof. Okay, so here normally whenever you try to prove it in thermodynamics, we'll take the opposite of it and we say if that happens, what happens, and then we say that it violates second law or something. Okay, so if you assume two adiabatics intersect each other as shown, suppose this is one adiabatic and this is another adiabatic, and I assume that these two intersect at point A. Okay, so if I assume that, Now I draw an isothermal which cuts these two lines. Okay, so this is a rectangular hyperbola, and if I draw a line like this, just which cuts both the lines, and I will have 2 points B and C cutting the adiabatics. Okay, so here, if I assume a heat engine working in this cycle ABC, okay, a heat engine working in this cycle ABC. So I work in a clockwise cycle. So naturally, there is a positive work output I get out of here, because whenever there is some area included in the PV diagram, so it must produce some work output. If I do it in anti-clockwise cycle, it absorbs work. If it is a clockwise cycle, it is a positive work. So suppose I take a clockwise cycle like this, okay, which is giving positive work. Now, where are the heat transfers? And if you see the heat transfers, here it is adiabatic, Q equal to 0. Here it is adiabatic, it is Q equal to 0. Here, only in this process, I should add heat, which is isothermal. So reversible isothermal heat addition will take place here. So QH added, which is from a reservoir which is at T. Okay, so because this is T is constant, at this temperature, I am adding the heat. So what it shows is this cycle is working with interaction with the surroundings with only one single reservoir where it takes heat and it is producing positive work, which violates the Kelvin-Planck statement. This is the ppm2. This is perpetual motion machine of the second kind, which is taking heat from a single source and producing positive work, because there is no heat transfers in these two processes. Okay, so that's it. Because of that, our assumption is wrong. What is the assumption? That we are assuming that two adiabatics cut each other. So it shows that two adiabatics can never intersect each other on a PV diagram. Okay, so this is the proof for that. Is that okay? So then we go to the next one. Any reversible cycle can be split into large number of Carnot cycles. Okay, and we derive what is called as Clausius theorem from this. And I take some arbitrary reversible cycle, and I draw number of adiabatics cutting this. Okay, number, because they are not intersecting, so there will be number of adiabatics I can draw here. And so here what I will do is I will draw an isothermal cutting these two adiabatics in such a way that this area is equal to this area. Some area is added because of that, and some area is removed from here. Similarly, one more isothermal like this. Here also, I add isothermal in such a way that this area is equal to this area, this area is equal to this area. Like that, if I do, so what I show is every small strip here is a Carnot cycle. Every small strip here is a Carnot cycle. So I'll divide them into number of Carnot cycles, and the total area of this will be same, because here whatever is added because of the small pieces is removed from here, and so the total area of all the Carnot cycles together is the area of this reversible cycle. So the total heat work transfer, work output is same as the original cycle. And so these adiabatics, it is going in this cycle, it is going down. In this cycle, it is going up. In this cycle, it is going up. In this cycle, it is going down, like that. Okay. So they are nullified. And here there will be heat additions, and there will be here heat rejections, and the sum of all of them will be same. So the total heat addition, total heat rejection, and the total area included in the cycle, all will be same. And in that way, I can replace any reversible cycle as sum of large number of Carnot cycles. Okay, so that's what we try to show here. And so if you take an elemental cycle, that the Carnot efficiency of the Carnot cycle is 1 minus delta QL by delta QH. Okay, if Q added is small amount here, this is heat loss and this is heat gain. And because this is a Carnot cycle, this is equal to 1 minus TL by TH. Okay, so delta QL by delta QH from this expression, so 1 gets cancelled. So delta QL by delta QH is TL by TH. And if I cross multiply delta QL by TL, I bring here, delta QH take here, I get this. And I take this to the left side. Delta QH by TH minus delta QL by TL is equal to 0. Delta QH is heat supplied and is positive. Delta QL is heat rejected and is negative. So because this is negative, taking the sign into consideration, I can make this as plus. Okay, so this plus minus, this is minus. Actually, this is a problem. Sometimes people get confused. Okay, if you are asked what is the heat transfer, suppose I have a heat loss of minus 2 megajoules or 2 megajoules. Okay, heat lost is 2 megajoules. If I am asked what is the heat lost, then it is 2 megajoules. If I am asked what is the heat transfer, I have to say minus 2 megajoules. Okay, how much is lost means 2 megajoules. How much is the heat transfer means minus 2 megajoules. Okay, so that is it. So QL, what is QL means 2 megajoules. Okay, what is heat transfer is minus QL, so minus 2 megajoules. So here that minus, if you put here, actually this becomes summation. The summation, I can replace it by integral. So integral delta Q by T is equal to 0 for a small cycle, okay, for one intermediate cycle. And if I combine all of them together, then it is cyclical integral delta Q by T reversible is equal to 0. Okay, cyclical integral of delta Q by T reversible is equal to 0. This is Clausius theorem. This is Clausius theorem. This is also called as the mathematical statement of second law of thermodynamics. Somebody asked in the previous classes, mathematically, how can you give the thermodynamics, the second law of thermodynamics, Kelvin-Planck statement or Clausius statement? For those statements, I cannot give a mathematical statement, but second law of thermodynamics in general can be given this particular statement, which is called as Clausius theorem, that is cyclical integral of delta Q by T equal to 0 for a reversible cycle. This is Clausius theorem. The cyclic integral of delta Q by T for a reversible cycle is equal to 0. So Clausius theorem can be taken as the mathematical statement for second law of thermodynamics. Okay, so this is very important. Okay, and if you remember, what is the mathematical statement of first law of thermodynamics? Cyclical integral of delta Q minus delta W equal to 0, or cyclic integral of delta Q is equal to cyclic integral of delta W. Like that, we can have a mathematical expression in cyclic integrals. In the same way, second law of thermodynamics has this particular mathematical statement. Is that clear? So there is Clausius inequality. So here what happens? This expression is for reversible cycle. So what happens if I take a irreversible cycle? Okay, because all real cycles are irreversible, I want to see what happens to the irreversible cycle. So here, if I take an irreversible cycle, I know that, okay, suppose HTR, LTR, I have irreversible engine, which takes QH and rejects QL, and giving a work of W irreversible. Okay, so eta irreversible is less than eta reversible, because I know that irreversible engine has less efficiency than a reversible engine. So, and the eta is equal to 1 minus QL by QH irreversible, less than 1 minus QL by QH reversible. Okay, and the 1 minus QL by QH reversible, the reversible means Carnot cycle. So for this expression will become 1 minus TL by TH. So QL by QH, 1 minus QL by QH irreversible is less than 1 minus TL by TH. Okay, if you take this expression, 1 and 1 gets cancelled, and minus, if I multiply by minus, this sign will become greater than. So QL by QH irreversible is greater than TL by TH. Okay, this is irreversible, right? So QL by, again replacing this 2, so QL by TL is greater than QH by 2H, and QH by TH is less than QL by TL. So QH by TH minus QL by TL is less than 0. Again, taking the sign of QL into consideration, I can write QH by TH plus QL by TL less than 0. Means integral delta Q by T for irreversible is less than 0, and for reversible it is equal to 0. And combining these two, we can write a cyclic integral of delta Q by T is less than or equal to 0, which is called as Clausius inequality. Okay, this is generalized expression, and the equal to is valid for reversible cycles, less than is valid for irreversible cycles. If it is greater than 0, that is impossible cycle. Okay, so this is the way we come to what is called as Clausius inequality. Is that okay? Is that okay? Clausius theorem and Clausius inequality. Clausius violator is different. Okay, Clausius theorem is different. Clausius statement is different. Clausius inequality is different. Clausius statement is statement of second law of thermodynamics. Clausius theorem is mathematical statement of second law of thermodynamics. Clausius inequality holds for both sign of QH is positive only, sign of QL is negative, that's why that is made into positive. Karthik? So how it is mathematical statement means actually because it satisfies the second law. Okay, and that's why actually Clausius only has done that. So it is told as Clausius theorem. Okay, now coming to this, if you remember, first law of thermodynamics, integral delta Q minus delta W cyclic is equal to 0, which has resulted, because whenever the integral of something is 0, that will be change of a property. Suppose integral dP is 0, cyclic integral dP is 0, cyclic integral dV is 0, cyclic integral dt is 0. Why it is 0? Because it comes back to the same value, it is 0. That's why whenever a integral of something is 0, this is change of a property. So this is change of a property, change of a property. In the same way, because the integral delta Q minus delta W is 0, so this is change in property, which is dE. Okay, that is total energy. And because that is for a closed system, we got du, and we got a new property, internal energy, from the first law of thermodynamics, right? Came with property internal energy. In the same way, now second law of thermodynamics is cyclic integral of delta Q by T is 0 for reversible cycle, and that's why delta Q by T becomes change in some property, and that property is entropy. Okay, ds. So we come with a new property, entropy. Okay, and this can be proved in the same way as we have done for the first law of thermodynamics. Okay, so when we have defined the first law of thermodynamics for a cycle, and when we have shown it for a process, we have taken two cycles, 1A, 2BC, 1A, 2B1, 1A, 2C1, and if I apply this second law of thermodynamics to 1A, 2B1 cycle, so integral delta Q by T 1A2, integral delta Q by T 2B1 equal to 0, and for the reversible cycle 1A, 2C1, if I apply, it is integral 1A2, integral 2C1 equal to 0. And from these two statements, I can say that this is equal to this. So integral delta Q by T 2B1 is equal to integral delta Q by T 2C1. So it shows that whether I calculate this in this process or this process, it is same. So it is independent of the path. Okay, so that is, it becomes a property. So delta Q by T is written as change of a property. Okay, and S is now property of the system called entropy. So ds is equal to delta Q by T for reversible process. Delta Q is equal to TdS for a reversible process. Okay, this is for reversible process. The same way, delta W is PdV, that is for quasi-static process. Right? Delta W is equal to PdV for a quasi-static process. In the same way, delta Q is TdS for a reversible process. And I was telling about what is difference between reversible and quasi-static. All reversible processes are quasi-static processes. There is no doubt about it. But all quasi-static processes may not be reversible processes. Okay, so isothermal can be reversible isothermal, adiabatic can be reversible adiabatic, but isobar and isochore cannot be reversible. Okay, but they are quasi-static. So that you have to remember. So entropy of entropy units, because entropy is equal to Q by T. That is, this is joules, kilojoules per Kelvin. And if I take per unit mass, specific entropy, that is kilojoule per kg Kelvin, small s. Okay, this is specific entropy. This is extensive property, total entropy of the system. Okay, similarly here also delta Q minus delta W. This is internal energy. This is also extensive property only. U by small m is equal to small u, specific internal energy, like that. So this is the way we come across a new property, what is called as entropy from the Clausius theorem, which is the statement of second law of thermodynamics. Okay, here okay. So here we come to what is called as the law of increase of entropy. And okay. So Clausius inequality, it says, sorry, this is the less than or equal to, okay, less than or equal to. So integral delta Q by T less than or equal to 0, equal to for reversible, less than for irreversible. So integral delta Q by T irreversible less than 0, integral delta Q by T reversible is equal to 0. So because this is less than this, so integral delta Q by T irreversible is less than integral delta Q by T reversible. But we know that integral delta Q by T reversible is ds. If I substitute that here, right, integral delta Q by T is less than integral ds, or delta Q by T reversible is less than ds. Okay, so this we get. If I interchange these two, ds is greater than delta Q by T, irreversible, right? So I got ds, in the previous slide, I got ds is equal to okay, ds is equal to delta Q by T for reversible process, and we get ds greater than delta Q by T for irreversible process. Combining these two, I can write ds greater than equal to delta Q by T. ds greater than or equal to delta Q by T. This is called as principle of increase of entropy. Principle of increase of entropy. So what it says is the entropy of any closed system which is thermally isolated. Suppose if I take an isolated system means delta Q is 0. So ds is greater than or equal to 0. ds is greater than or equal to 0 for isolated system. And we know that universe is isolated system. So ds is greater than or equal to 0 for the universe. Means for everything, every activity that is happening in the universe, we know that they are irreversible, and so there will be increase of entropy for every process that is happening in the universe. That's why entropy of the universe always increase, because all processes are irreversible. For a reversible adiabatic process, ds equal to 0 or s is equal to constant, and we call it as isentropic process. If it is adiabatic, this is 0. And if it is reversible, this is equal to 0. ds equal to 0 for reversible adiabatic process. So the other name for reversible adiabatic process is isentropic process, because entropy is constant. There is no heat transfer and there is no friction, then it will become a reversible adiabatic process, and also called as isentropic process. And this is the law of increase of entropy for the universe. That is, I am talking, right? I walk, I eat, whatever I do, by every action of ours, we are increasing the entropy of the universe. Everything, every small thing that happens in the universe increases the entropy of the universe. This is called as law of increase of entropy, or principle of increase of entropy. Because again, I repeat, universe is isolated system. For an isolated system, heat transfer is 0. So ds is greater than or equal to 0. So for every action, there may be the entropy may not change or increase, right? But all real processes are irreversible processes. That's why ds is always greater than 0. For every action, there will be increase in the entropy of the universe. Okay, here there is one particular thing I want to stress on, which is to be clear. Many times people think that if I take a system, its entropy always increase. No, that is not right. The entropy of a system can increase or decrease based on delta Q. Okay, because ds is equal to delta Q by T, right? And if delta Q is positive, ds is positive. If delta Q is negative, ds is negative, right? If I add heat, entropy increase. If I remove heat, entropy decrease. So a system losing heat will lose entropy also, right? Entropy can decrease or increase for a system. But if I take a universe, the entropy of the universe always increase, because universe contains, if I take a small system, there is system and surroundings, together it is universe, right? If there is a decrease of entropy in the system, there will be large increase in the entropy in the surroundings, and the total change in the entropy is always positive. Okay, this must be clear. Okay, if there is a change in the system, there will be change in the surroundings also. So why the entropy of a system changes? Because of the heat transfer. So when there is a heat transfer to the surroundings, there will be change of entropy in both system and surroundings. If entropy of system decreases, entropy of surroundings will increase, and the total change in the entropy of the universe is always positive. Okay, is that clear for everybody? No. Here, does that mean ds always 0 in reversible process? No. Reversible adiabatic process only ds is 0. If Q is 0 and reversible, then only ds is 0. For reversible process, Q by T is not 0. If the system is isolated, right, it will not lose heat or gain heat, because it is isolated, no heat transfer at all. Then it is adiabatic. Is it clear? No. For every process, temperature of the universe has to decrease. Nothing like that. Entropy of the surroundings change, because entropy of is a property, and if heat is added to it through a system, entropy of the surroundings increase. And don't get confused with heat transfer and temperature. Hemant, I told you many times, there can be heat transfer, there may not be temperature change, there may be temperature change, there may not be heat transfer. So this is to be clear. Okay, I will tell you one thing. Okay, suppose I will show you on the slide. Yeah, here, suppose I have a high temperature body and I have a low temperature body, and there is a heat transfer between these two. Okay, there is a heat transfer between these two, and the amount of heat transfer is Q. Okay, its temperature is not changed, its temperature is not changed. Okay, so there will be, because it is losing heat, its entropy decrease. And it is at constant temperature, it is losing, right? So the Q by TH is the ds. Delta S1 is equal to minus Q by TH. Because it is losing heat, its entropy will decrease. Q is negative, right? So delta S1 is minus Q by TH. This is change in entropy in the system losing heat. And here TL, which gains heat, same amount of heat Q, but it gains heat at TL. So the change in entropy of second system is Q by TL. Okay. So, and this is increase in the entropy. This heat transfer increases the entropy because heat is going into the system. This is heat losing in the system. And if I want to see the net change in the whole, because these two are changing, the what is happening to the universe. Okay. So the change in delta S, okay, delta S1 plus delta S2 is equal to what happens? Minus Q by TH plus Q by TL. Okay, so the net change, is it positive or negative? Because TH is high, Q by TH is low.
Lấy cái truth anh buôn xong rồi truth từ hàng buôn như có tuổi gì. Rồi,